Let us pray. Lord, have mercy upon us. Lord, have mercy upon us. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Almighty God, who in thy wisdom and goodness hast appointed the office of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of men and women, we beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us, thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in these islands. Let thy blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of these islands and those whose interest thou hast committed to our charge. And this we beg for Jesus Christ's sake. Amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen.
Members? Okay. So, confirmation of minutes. I trust everyone has had chance to review them. Yes. Minutes of the May the 9th. Thank you. Okay. Messages from the governor? There are none. Announcements by the speaker. I just want to announce to the House that members Bean, members Dickinson, and the Deputy Premier De Silva have all sent their apologies. There are no messages coming from the Senate. Papers and other communications to the House.
Madam Acting Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House of Assembly the City of Hamilton Plan 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, member. Petitions. Statements by ministers and junior ministers.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, today I presented to this Honorable House for its consideration and approval the City of Hamilton Plan 2025, or simply the plan. This forward-looking document, prepared by the Department of Planning, will guide all future development activity in the City of Hamilton, excluding the Northeast Hamilton Local Plan 2022 area. The plan is accompanied by two important documents: the Tribunal Report, which outlines its findings and recommendations, and the City Survey Report 2024, providing the background data and research that shape the policies contained in this plan. Once approved, the plan will be published in the Official Gazette, representing a critical step forward in modernizing the planning framework that guides development in the city. I invite all honorable members and members of the public to view the full documents online at planning.gov.bm, reflecting the government's commitment to accessibility and transparency in public policy. Madam Acting Speaker, this plan reflects not only policy, but also a cultural shift on how we approach development in the city. For too long, outdated policies have limited good projects and prevented officers from using their judgment to achieve well-balanced results. That changes today. The City of Hamilton Plan 2025 introduces a more flexible and holistic approach to planning that empowers technical officers to use their professional judgment more effectively while ensuring that every decision is grounded in design quality, sound evidence, and community benefit. Madam Acting Speaker, this plan is built on the internationally recognized principle of placemaking. Development must contribute positively to the human experience of the city, not just in appearance, but how people move, gather, and interact. By focusing on design, walkability, and mixed uses, we believe Hamilton can become more than a place of business. It can become a vibrant, safe, and inviting urban destination. Placemaking is not merely a catchphrase. It serves as a framework that underpins every major element of this plan, from transportation to green spaces, from housing to commercial revitalization. We prioritize people, and where they choose to spend time, economic activity naturally follows. Madam Acting Speaker, as we adopt this modern and responsive plan, I want to address a concern that I shared during the discussion with technical officers: building heights. Let me be clear. This plan does not open the door to 30-story skyscrapers in Hamilton. While the plan eliminates rigid, citywide height limits, it maintains control and common sense. Instead, it introduces a smarter, more responsive framework that considers height and massing based on a building's location, context, and design quality. Madam Acting Speaker, building heights will now be negotiated and assessed based on a project's location in the city and its contributions to the surrounding area. Any proposal will still be required to meet infrastructure standards, ensure design excellence, and maintain compatibility with neighboring properties. We have replaced arbitrary maximums with a more tailored and place-based approach. So no, Madam Acting Speaker, this is not a green light for unchecked vertical growth. It is a call for thoughtful, contextual, and community-minded development that works for Hamilton, not against it. Madam Acting Speaker, the plan before us is a result of years of public engagement, consultation, and technical analysis. From the consultative draft in 2023 to the final tribunal review in 2024, every step reflects a commitment to inclusion, evidence, and fairness. Stakeholders across sectors, from the Corporation of Hamilton to residents and businesses, have shaped this final product. This collaborative spirit will continue as we implement it. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda's land is limited. Yet, within that limitation lies opportunity, particularly in Hamilton. The city already has the infrastructure, services, and transport connections. If we are to achieve compact, efficient, and sustainable growth as an island, it makes sense to maximize development in one place already built for it. Madam Acting Speaker, the government remains committed to a thriving, sustainable, and inclusive City of Hamilton. The City of Hamilton Plan 2025 is key to achieving that vision. Together, they lay the foundation for responsible investment and smart growth that benefits all of Bermuda. I want to conclude by thanking the tribunal, led by Chairperson Ms. Jennifer Hayworth, along with Mr. David Aswood and Ms. Vanessa Turner, and the forward planning team from the Department of Planning, led by Director Victoria Cordero, for the professionalism and commitment to bringing this pivotal plan to fruition. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Reports of committees. There are none. Question period. No member indicated that they have questions, so there are no questions. Congratulatory and/or obituary period. I recognize the member from constituency 2. Member, you have 3 minutes.
I know all too well. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, Acting Speaker. I just rise this morning to offer congratulations to one of our own in this chamber, the Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Arnold Allen, the founder and chief instructor of the Hato Dojo Karate, which was founded in 1982. And I would like to associate MP Lawrence Scott, who I know is well versed, and in doing so, associate the whole House as well. I had the great privilege of attending a prize presentation a couple of Sundays ago at the Warwick Academy, and I wasn't able to stay long. I was going to my own teaching instructions, but I was impressed by the level of discipline I witnessed with those young people as his team put them through their charges, and with brown belts, green belts, orange belts, purple belts, yellow belts being raised on that day, with demonstrations which lasted quite some time, and it was impressive, to say the least, Madam Deputy Speaker. I would go as far as to say that having attended another one of the prize presentations, which involved all of the disciplines in karate, I was impressed by the leadership that I witnessed on that occasion. And I could see from his own dojo how where that emanated from, because the precision and the detail that was enforced and emphasized is something that I picked up on. Fundamentals being key to any sport and discipline. I saw it being taught and being enforced with those who were teaching those young people. And I would go as far as to say that Mr. Arnold Allen, who represents us ably as Sergeant at Arms with his military background, has found a great way of teaching young people how to learn great qualities of life, discipline being amongst the most important. So thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Are there any other members who wish to speak? I recognize the member from constituency 1. Member Bean, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Acting Speaker. First of all, I come on a sad note this morning, giving thoughts and prayers to the family of Peggy Dalapiche. For us in St. George's, that would be Peggy Painter, Aunt Peggy Painter, the nerve of me. She is no longer with us, but I'd like for her family, who is in large St. George's, stalwart family, to know that they are in our thoughts and prayers. Can't believe I'm not going to have any more phone calls from Aunt Peggy on anything that's happening in St. George's that she thought I needed to know about. So it'll be definitely an adjustment for all of us in St. George's, because whilst they may have thought I was special, Aunt Peggy called around to everybody to let you know either what was happening in St. George's, what needed to be repaired in St. George's, and who may have passed in St. George's. So her family's in our thoughts and prayers. I'd also like to be associated with the comments from Friday, Acting Speaker, with regard to St. Clair Williams. And on a happier note, I'd like to congratulate the Relay for Life organizers. I had the opportunity to participate this year with my 15 laps around the Associate the Hill House. With 15 laps around the thing, I did not take up spinning. Didn't look like it was for me, but I kept to my walking. And this one's a bit close to my heart, Madam Acting Speaker. I would like to congratulate my hubby, who has retired after 38 years of service with the Bermuda Police Service. I don't know what he'll do now, Acting Speaker, but we have a really long honeydew list that hasn't even been started. So, but I do believe one thing I will say is a policeman is forever a policeman, right? Because he's always thinking in that way. And I guess after 38 years of service to your community and to your country, it's really hard to turn something like that off. So, but we wish him all the best in whatever it is he decides to do. And I think he still has a lot more to offer his country. So I'll just say, watch this space.
Thank you, member. Are there any other members who wish to speak? I recognize the member from constituency 15.
Thank
Member,
you.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. And I'd just like to rise to my feet to give congratulations to the Bermuda Football Association, one of our national sports governing bodies that is supported by the government of Bermuda. And this Saturday night, Madam Acting Speaker, they had their annual end of year awards. And I'd like to just take the time that I have left to actually go through the list of those awards. And I'll finish with one that I'm sure my honorable colleague from constituency 17 will be happy to hear, but I'll start with these ones. So the top goal scorers and winners were in the Premier Division, Ms. Diage Hart, First Division, Paul Simons, and Women's Miss Kalia Daly. The top defensive player of the year in the Premier Division was Julian Carpenter. And in the First Division, Mr. Darius Cox, and women, it was Kelly Hollis. The goalkeeper of the year from North Village, the champions, Mr. Detre Bell. First Division, Diaz Chambers and Samantha Davis. In the women's division, the Fair Play Award went to the North Village Community Club, and that's the team that has the least amount of infractions. So not only did they win the league, but they did so in a fair manner. Robin Hood won that award in the first division, and Somerset Cricket Club and Dandy Stars won it for the women's division. The Young Player of the Year went to Mr. Taisei Showers from PHC for Premier Division, Sammy Corolo from Robin Hood for the first division, and Koa Goodchild from Somerset Cricket Club in the women's division. The Order of Merit, this was a very momentous award given by the BFA, went to Mr. Kevin Grant for the work he's done in football over the years. Mr. Stuart Cockrell, everyone will know Mr. Cockrell as a former referee, and former colleague, former Minister of Sport, Mr. Dale Butler, was recognized for his achievements in supporting sport while he was the minister. Coach of the Year this year went to the champions in the Premier Division, Calvin Patches Dill from North Village, Troy Smith from Boulevard, and Denver Seymour Jr. in the women's division. Referees of the year were Mr. Pedro Dash Bailey and Amari Majors. And the MVPs, most valuable player for each division, again from the champions, Mr. Jonte Smith of North Village, Paul Simons from Crossroads, and Miss Janae Agnes Gomez from Dandy Stars. It was also lovely to have the president of CONCACAF, who was in attendance. That is a big deal for the Bermuda Football Association. As you will know, that not only do we have the Gold Cup as we do often, but CONCACAF are the official host of the World Cup in 2026, and it was good to have him in our presence. So congratulations to all winners of the BFA Awards. Thank you, Madam Acting
Thank
Speaker.
you. Just on time. Are there any other members who wish to speak? I recognize the member from constituency 28. Member, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Deputy Speaker. I would like to associate my comments with the Minister of Sport in regards to the BFA Awards on Saturday night. I had initially planned to attend, but in preparation for today's budget, I wasn't able to make it. But I would like to just, for all those that represented Somerset Cricket Club, I would just like to send congratulations to them, and I declare my interest as a member of the management of Somerset Cricket Club. While it's good to see all of our clubs doing well, I do have to single out Somerset Cricket Club for the work that they've done. And also, just to make a correction to what the minister said, it's Tasai Showers, my cousin. So again, I want to send congratulations to my cousin Tasai Showers for winning Young Player of the Year award, and to all the other awardees. Well done on a good season, and looking forward to again the cremation of Somerset. Hopefully, we can win more awards and be promoted next season. But well done to all of the awardees. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, member. I'm wondering why St. George's names weren't called in that. But are there any other members who wish to speak? There being none, thank you, member. Sorry, that moves us on to matters of privilege. There are none. Personal explanation. There are none. Okay. Notice of motion for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance. There are none. Introduction of bills. There are none. Notices of motion. There are none. And that brings us to orders of the day. And that would be the resumption in Committee of Supply for further consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2025-2026. I call on the Premier.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, I move that the House to now resume in Committee of Supply to consider the estimates of revenue and expenditure for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Thank you, Premier. Didn't mean to exclude you. I call on the member from constituency 24. Member.
Good morning, honorable members. We are now in Committee of Supply for further consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditures for the year 2025, 2026. And the heads that are going to be debated right now are heads 87, 3, 4, 25, 74, and 75 are now to be debated. I call on the minister in charge to proceed. Member Junior Minister Lister, you now have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I move the following heads: 87, Ministry of Legal Affairs, Headquarters; Head 3, Judicial Department; Head 4, Attorney General's Chambers; Head 25, Department of Corrections; Head 74, Department of Court Services; and Head 75, Department of Public Prosecutions be now taken under consideration. It is my distinct honor to rise today on behalf of Attorney General Senator the Honorable Kim Wilkerson, JP, to present the budget brief for the Ministry of Justice. This ministry stands as the cornerstone of our democracy, safeguarding the rule of law, ensuring access to justice, and upholding the rights and freedoms of every citizen. We remain committed to strengthening our justice system, advancing legal reform, and providing critical support to agencies and services that uphold fairness, accountability, and public safety across Bermuda. I will now present Head 87, Ministry of Justice, Headquarters, found on page B78 to B82 of the Estimates of Revenue and Expenditure. The mission: to uphold the rule of law, to ensure justice for all, and promote a community where every individual is respected, empowered, and their interests safeguarded. The total current expenditure is estimated to be $57,740,000 for 2025 to 2026, and represents an increase of 2%, represents an increase of $2,857,000, or approximately 5% higher than the budget of 2024-2025. This change is due primarily to an increase in salaries, legal, and consultancy costs. Revenue overview. The department under this ministry's portfolios, whose mandates directly entail generating revenue, is the Judicial Department. The Judicial Department's revenue stream is projected to yield a total of $4,811,000. This amounts to $423,000, or 10% more than the 2024-2025 original estimates. The observed increase is primarily attributable to the escalation of higher court fees and charges, as well as the payment of parking fines and civil fees. I will now present the budget for the Ministry of Justice Headquarters, along with the business units under its purview. The budgets for individual department heads within this ministry will be covered separately in their respective budget briefs. Expenditure overview. Mr. Chair, a total of $6,755,000 has been allocated to the Ministry of Justice Headquarters, which represents a $952,000 or 16% increase from the previous year, and constitutes 12% of the budget allocated for the ministry as a whole. The adjustments will be reflected in each corresponding section. Mr. Chair, the Ministry of Justice Headquarters is subdivided into 8 fiscally identifiable programs / business units as follows: 9700 Administration, 97010 Financial Intelligence Agency, 97030 Legal Aid Office, 97050 Parole Board, 97060 Treatment of Offenders Board, 97070 Justice Protection Program, 97080 Financial Sanctions Implementation Unit, 97100 Law Reform Commission. I will proceed to address these business units individually as follows. Current expenditure, administration 97000. The original estimate 2024-2025 of 542,000. Estimate for 2025-2026 1,322,000. An increase of $780,000. Percentage increase of 144%. This administration business unit provides for the administrative and personnel costs associated with the daily operation of the ministry headquarters, for which a total of $1,322,000 has been allocated. And this represents an increase of $780,000 or 144% compared to the original 2024-2025 estimates, driven by higher expenditures for consultant services, legal fees, travel costs, and increased grant allocation, rental expenses, and newly allocated funding for the Parole Board and the Treatment of Offenders Boards, which fell under the Ministry of National Security in the last fiscal year. Legal Aid Office, Unit 97030. Original estimate for 2024-2025, $1,867,000. Estimate for 2025-2026, $2,223,000. An increase of $356,000 or 19%. The Legal Aid Office purpose is to ensure that legal advice and representation is readily available to those who need it most, and who, because of limited financial means, would otherwise be unable to secure access to justice. The office's mission statement is to provide high-quality legal representation to those who qualify for assistance under the Legal Aid Act 1980. The office fulfills this role by providing clients who qualify for the scheme with quality professional legal services in a timely and efficient manner. Mr. Chair, the Legal Aid Scheme is administered by the Legal Aid Committee under the authority of the Legal Aid Act 1980. For 2025-2026, its budget allocation is $2,223,000. This is a $356,000 or 19% increase from 2024-2025 original estimate allocation. This increase is mainly due to legal services, consulting costs, and rent. Mr. Chair, of the 2025-2026 allocation, $1,196,000 or 54% is allocated to salaries for administrative, managerial, and legal aid staff. $700,000 or 31% covers external legal services, while the remaining $327,000 or 15% of funds administrative expenses, including committee fees, professional indemnity insurance, and bar association dues. This year, the Legal Aid Office will undergo a full review to develop a strategic plan aimed at improving efficiency and ensuring continued access to justice for all. Mr. Chair, the Legal Aid Office delivers two key services. The administrative team supports applicants in completing legal aid forms and conducts financial means assessments under the Legal Aid Act 1980 before submitting cases to the Legal Aid Committee. Once decisions are made, the team notifies applicants and counsel and issues certificates. The accounts officer then processes all legal and expert service invoices, ensuring they are reviewed, taxed, and approved by the committee prior to payment. The legal team, when at its current full complement, consists of junior counsel, 2 legal aid counsels, a senior legal aid counsel, and the legal aid paralegal. Whenever possible, the Legal Aid Committee assigns in-house counsel to represent persons who are granted legal aid certificates by the committee. The performance measures for the Legal Aid Office for 2024-2025 were: 1, to process and grant legal aid certificates to qualified applicants within 7 days of receiving their completed applications and supporting documents. 2, to process and grant legal certificates in urgent situations within 3 working days. 3, to assign 75% of new cases to in-house legal aid counsel. And 4, to grant approximately 140 new legal aid certificates. Mr. Chair, I am pleased to report that the Legal Aid Office met its performance goals for the fiscal year 2024-2025. Applications for the new legal aid certificates were efficiently processed and placed before the Legal Aid Committee, and most certificates were considered and granted within 7 days of receiving completed applications and supporting documentation. Temporary urgent legal aid certificates were granted within 24 hours, which exceeded the goal set of 3 working days. Mr. Chair, a key performance goal for 2024-25 was to assign at least 75% of new legal aid certificates to in-house counsel. The office surpassed this target, achieving 80%. With the recruitment and training of additional in-house counsel for 25-26, this figure is expected to rise to approximately 90%, leading to cost savings and broader public access to justice. Mr. Chair, the number of legal aid certificates granted each year fluctuates due to unpredictable socioeconomic and other factors. In 2024-25, while 228 applications were processed, slightly above the projected 225, only 113 applicants qualified and were granted certificates. Decisions on 23 applications remain pending further information. Overall, performance indicators show increases in applications processed and certificates granted compared to the previous year, along with a reduction in deferred applications. Operating expenses. For the fiscal year, Mr. Chair, expenses occurred, excluding salaries, were as follows. Legal fees for external counsel of $970,000, telephone expenses of $5,700. No fees were paid out for consultants over the period under review. $13,800 was spent on board and committee fees. $97,000 was apportioned for electricity, rent, and maintenance. $11,600 was allocated for cleaning. $18,700 was allocated for office supplies, printing, books, and professional law periodicals. Legal services. Mr. Chair, between the period of April 1st, 2024 and the 31st of March, 2025, the Legal Aid Office processed a total of 228 new applications, 140 criminal matters, 56 civil matters, and 32 matrimonial matters. Out of the 228 new applications for funding, 113 matters were approved, 92 were declined, and 23 were deferred. The work of in-house legal aid counsel. Individual client cases managed by in-house counsel over the period under review resulted in cost savings of approximately $880,000 in legal fees, which would otherwise have been paid to external counsel. Mr. Chair, the Legal Aid Office represented clients with respect to a broad range of legal matters over the past year, including family court matters, civil claims such as employment and personal injury, human rights claims, constitutional applications, and criminal trial and appeal matters. Cost savings were realized in many ways through the strategic use of legal aid counsel to assist individuals before the courts. The Legal Aid Office ensured all assisted people received quality representation and timely access to justice. In-house counsel appeared as duty counsel for individuals in many courts, thereby safeguarding the rights of individuals and ensuring that cases are dealt with fairly and expeditiously. The Legal Aid Office provided counsel each week to assist individuals appearing in the mental health treatment court, drug treatment court, DUI court, and the juvenile court. Effective counsel in these courts is critical to the success of individuals appearing before them. Individuals and the judiciary rely on counsel to provide legal and moral guidance as they work to address the underlying causes of their involvement in the criminal justice system. The Legal Aid Office made counsel available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to advise and assist all persons arrested and detained by the police over the past year, including attending at the police station to assist adults and young people during police interviews in serious matters. The Legal Aid Office ensured that no one appeared in the plea court was required to enter a plea or otherwise compromise the legal rights without the advice and assistance of legal counsel. The Legal Aid Committee, Mr. Chair, recognizes that for some members of the community faced not only with financial challenges, but also with cognitive or mental health challenges, representation by in-house counsel is necessary to ensure their voices are heard. In these circumstances, legal aid certificates are granted at the discretion of the committee in the interest of justice. In addition to clients charged with criminal offenses, the Legal Aid Office continues to represent an increasing number of individuals who are before the Supreme Court and the Magistrates Court in relation to child custody, access, and maintenance disputes. There continues to be an increased demand for legal aid counsel in the juvenile court to represent young people being tried for serious matters. Legal aid counsel appear as duty counsel for the juvenile court every week and are most often assigned to represent young people who are granted legal aid certificates by the committee. The implementation of child safeguarding provisions, which protect the rights of children and ensure their voices are heard in all types of cases before the courts, has resulted in legal aid counsel frequently being called upon to represent children who come before the courts as witnesses, victims, and the subject of family court litigation regarding their care and custody. Internally, Mr. Chair, the office continues to build a strong team as the administrative staff and counsel work together to meet their shared goal of providing excellent legal representation to the public. Together, they have developed effective solutions to all obstacles and challenges presented over the past year. External counsel. Mr. Chair, external legal fees remain the largest area of expenditure for the Legal Aid Office, except for salaries, and continue to be challenging to accurately predict. Last year, the legal fees paid to external counsel were higher than predicted for several reasons, including the following. There was an increase in the rate of murder and other serious violent crimes, as well as conspiracies to import firearms, ammunition, and illegal drugs into Bermuda. Multiple defendants were charged and tried together in these serious cases. Each defendant is entitled to independent counsel who is free from any potential conflict of interest. In most cases, therefore, in-house legal aid counsel is only able to represent one defendant, whilst the other 2, 3, or more co-defendants, who often all qualify for legal aid, have to be represented by external counsel. Very focused efforts and cooperation between the courts, the Department of Public Prosecutions, legal aid counsel, and external counsel has continued to decrease the backlog of cases during the last fiscal period, which has necessarily increased the cost of external legal fees. Although the Legal Aid Committee requires brief fee proposals from counsel and to ensure fees are necessary and reasonable, it remains challenging to predict when trials will occur and accounts will be submitted. In the past fiscal year, external counsel submitted claims for serious trials and appeals that have been budgeted for and completed in prior years. Several Privy Council appeals and applications advanced during this period, resulting in significant decisions. To manage costs, local and in-house counsel supported these matters. However, foreign counsel was also required to ensure the efficient progress of appeals in that jurisdiction. The past fiscal period included payment of substantial fees to external counsel for retrials. Costs to legal aid increase whenever the DPP determines it is in the public interest to try individuals for a second or third time for the same offenses. Mr. Chair, training and development. Training and development, along with succession planning, are some of the most important objectives of the Legal Aid Office. As a number of experienced barristers who are willing and able to represent legal aid clients will begin to decrease over the next 5 years, it is imperative that we begin to train and develop the next generation of Bermudian barristers now to ensure that our courts continue to operate efficiently and that all persons, regardless of wealth, have access to justice. The Legal Aid Office is an ideal training ground for pupils and junior counsel, both due to the diversity of legal work and the opportunity to assist and learn from senior barristers engaged in complex matters before our courts. It is integral to facilitating the ministry's goal to train and retrain competent and qualified Bermudians for the legal profession, especially for the criminal defense bar. Recruitment is underway currently to bring on board a second, more senior barrister and a junior barrister immediately. Further development and growth is anticipated as we remain dedicated to access to justice for all Bermudians into the future. The Legal Aid Office is actively seeking a larger, more suitable space for its team. While relocation has been more challenging than anticipated, the office remains committed to finding a cost-effective solution that supports its mission, sustains its services, and offers a strong training ground for promising Bermudian barristers. Supporting the development of future Bermudian barristers and judges, alongside providing quality legal representation, remains a top priority for both the Legal Aid Office and the Ministry of Justice. Mr. Chair, we will begin of the coming fiscal year to make the crucial investment now in our legal aid plan and our collective commitment to ensure equal access to justice for all in the preservation of high standards we now enjoy and expect in our justice system in the future, and the absolutely essential development and retention of first-rate Bermudian barristers. Parole Board, Unit 97050. 2024, original 2024-2025 estimate, 0. Estimate 2025-2026, $120,000, an increase of $120,000 or 0%. Mr. Chair, the Parole Board, which has recently been transferred to the Ministry of Justice, has been allocated a budget of $120,000. The allocation under this business unit is designated for board fees and board training programs as we seek to modernize our approach to parole. The Parole Board serves as an important role in facilitating the re-entry of offenders into society. The members of the board, which include experts in law, psychology, and institutional aftercare, are charged with releasing men and women who are eligible by virtue of certain established criteria to serve the remainder of the sentence under community supervision. With careful thought and deliberation, the Parole Board implements conditions that will provide the highest likelihood of applicants becoming law-abiding citizens and equipping them for successful reintegration. On average, Mr. Chair, the board meets 3 to 4 times per month and works collaboratively with other partner agencies of the justice system, including court services, corrections facilities, rehabilitation program providers, and aftercare professionals to identify appropriate ways to achieve goals by reducing recidivism, preventing crime, and protecting society. In 2024, the board conducted a comprehensive review of cases. Treatment of Offenders Board Business Unit 97060. The original estimate 2024-25, $0. Estimate for 2025-2026, $98,000, an increase of $98,000, 0%. Mr. Chair, the Treatment of Offenders Board, which has recently been transferred to the Ministry of Justice, has been allocated a total budget of $98,000. Of this amount, $68,000 is designated for the salary of an administrative assistant, while $30,000 is allocated for board fees. The Treatment of Offenders Board includes persons who possess expertise in medicine, psychology, law, and/or education. The board meets in person twice per month, alternating between Westgate and the co-ed farm right living house facilities. Every month, 2 members of the board attend rota visits at the facilities to engage with inmates and compile reports based on their findings. The board acts as a fundamental cornerstone of our justice system, ensuring inmates' voices are heard and our correction systems remain focused on rehabilitative and restorative justice principles over mere detention. Justice Protection Program, Business Unit 97070. The original estimate for 2024-25, $275,000. Estimate for 2025-26, $320,000, an increase of $45,000 or 16%. Mr. Chair, the Justice Protection Program has been allocated a budget of $320,000 for the fiscal year 2025-26, which represents a $45,000 or 16% increase from the prior year. The Justice Protection Program operates under the Justice Protection Act 2010, providing protection and relocation services to key prosecution witnesses who meet the statutory criteria. Details of the program are strictly protected from public disclosure under both the Justice Protection Act 2010 and the Public Access to Information Act 2010. Thus, Mr. Chair, we proceed with great caution when representing figures and data which could be mosaic together with other information to unwittingly reveal the identity of participants in the Justice Protection Program, which ultimately prejudices the effectiveness and security of the program. There was one participant and one person being considered for entry to the program at the start of the 2025-26 fiscal year. Program participants are afforded protection whilst they provide evidence in high-profile or high-risk cases before the courts. Over the past 15 years, the Justice Protection Program has supported 44 participants, representing a total of 62 individuals, some of whom were spouses, partners, or children included for family unification. On average, participants remain in the program for 3 years. During this period, 11 additional applications were reviewed but denied, as the access risk was sufficiently mitigated by existing support available to those individuals. Mr. Chair, for example, payments under the program are carefully vetted and structured to cover a participant's reasonable living expenses, including, where appropriate, those of accompanying family members. Financial assistance may also be provided for relocation, settlement, employment support, education, and healthcare. Additional support is offered to help participants achieve greater self-sufficiency and long-term stability. Over the past 15 years, participants in the Justice Protection Program have testified in 34 trials, resulting in convictions in all but 4, an 88.2% conviction rate. This underscores the program's critical role in supporting the administration of justice, upholding the rule of law, and enhancing public safety, particularly in gang-related and violent crime cases. Its success rate exceeds that of comparable programs in other jurisdictions, offering strong evidence of both its effectiveness and value for money. Mr. Chair, looking ahead to fiscal year 2025-26, the budget increase is in anticipation of the start of the Domestic Violence Court and the potential for domestic violence program and the potential for an increase in providing assistance to the victims of domestic violence specifically. Allowing for the introduction of the new program and the continued gun crime in our community, the work of this program will continue within its budget to protect the privacy and locations of the participant witnesses in the program, towards the successful prosecution of some of the most heinous crimes in our jurisdiction. Financial Sanctions Implementation Unit, Business Unit 97080. Original estimate for 2024-25, $353,000. Estimate for 2025-26, $376,000, an increase of $23,000 or 7%. Mr. Chair, the Financial Sanctions Implementation Unit plays a critical role in upholding Bermuda's reputation as a cooperative jurisdiction with a strong and effective sanctions regime. Its responsibilities include implementing and monitoring compliance with financial and trade sanctions to safeguard the integrity of Bermuda's financial system and protect national economic interests. The FSIU also advises the Minister of Justice on broader issues related to anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, and counter-proliferation. For fiscal year 2025-26, the FSIU's budget allocation is $376,000. This is an increase of $23,000 or 7% from the estimate allocation for the 2024-25 fiscal year. 96% of FSIU's budget is allocated for salaries. The remaining 4% is allocated for training, office supplies, telephone expenses, and membership fees for its 2 consuls. Staff. Mr. Chair, the FSIU is comprised of two posts, the head of the FSIU and one legal counsel. The FSIU team is responsible for providing legal advice and technical support to the Ministry of Justice in carrying out functions delegated to the minister from the governor, implementing targeted financial sanctions as well as trade sanctions, including bringing relevant sanctions overseas territories orders in council into force in Bermuda, reviewing license applications in respect of the various sanctions regimes and enforcing the same, maintaining a web-based repository of sanctions notices in effect in Bermuda, public outreach to industry, supervisors, and government agencies to enhance awareness on sanctions obligations, including proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, liaising with Government House and UK authorities on sanctions matters, and assisting Ministry of Justice headquarters with Bermuda's AML and ATF global obligations. Under the international sanctions framework, Mr. Chair, His Excellency the Governor is Bermuda's competent authority and holds ultimate responsibility for sanctions implementation as outlined in the applicable overseas territories orders under the International Sanctions Acts 2003 and the International Sanctions Regulations 2013. Since September 2018, certain functions have been delegated to the Minister of Justice under the International Sanctions Delegation of Governor's Powers Notice 2018. Mr. Chair, Bermuda's sanctions regime must be up to date, fully implemented, and effective for the specific purposes of each financial sanction. As an overseas territory, Bermuda's sanctions regime mirrors those sanctions which are implemented in the United Kingdom. To meet international obligations, the FSIU ensures that all applicable overseas territories orders that detail new sanctions or amendments to existing sanction regimes are expeditiously brought into force in Bermuda. All updates to Bermuda's sanctions regimes are listed in Schedule 1 of the International Sanctions Regulations 2013. Mr. Chair, the FSIU's role includes providing legal advice and technical support to the Minister of Justice in carrying out her delegated functions. For instance, under Bermuda sanctions framework, the Minister of Justice has the power to obtain evidence and information by taking such steps as considered appropriate to cooperate with any international investigation relating to the funds, economic resources, or financial transactions of a designated person. Issue and revoke licenses with the consent of the Secretary of State and may grant a license authorizing an activity that would otherwise be prohibited under the said orders. An issued license can be varied or revoked by the minister at any time with the consent of the UK Secretary of State. Serve as a reporting depository to whom a relevant institution reports or informs if it credits a frozen account pursuant to an order. Authorized persons with power to search and investigate suspected ships, aircrafts, vehicles, and specified by regulations in the currency of the territory, the amount which is to be taken as equivalent to sums expressed in sterling in the relevant order. Output measures. Application under the Russia sanctions regime continues to be the prominent regime for which license applications are submitted to the FSIU. In 2024-25, the Minister of Justice issued 3 general licenses, 2 general licenses for legal fees, which were issued under the Russia sanctions regime, Bermuda General License 2004 and Bermuda General License 2024. Both general licenses allowed for payment for the provision of legal services to a designated person under the Russia or Belarus regimes. As a result of the legal general licenses, firms will not have to wait for a specific license before they can receive payment from or on behalf of designated persons, provided that the terms of the general license are met. The first general license, legal license, was issued on June 2024, and the second GL was issued in January 2025. And a general license for GTLK companies and their subsidiaries under the Russia sanctions regime, Bermuda General License 2024, in respect of payments and activities associated with insolvency proceedings. The general license allows payments and other permitted activities to take place in relation to insolvency proceedings associated with GTLK Europe and GTLK Capital and their subsidiaries. Persons will not have to wait for a specific license before they can carry out activities in relation to these proceedings, provided that the terms of the general license are met. In addition, 6 specific licenses were issued in 2024, 5 financial and 1 trade. The FSRU continues to provide support to the minister in processing sanctions license applications. Moreover, the FSRU continues to receive a number of compliance reporting forms from industry under the Russia sanctions regime. To date, 230,750,317.99 in frozen assets has been reported and logged to the FSRU. Outreach, Mr. Chair. The FSRU continues to ensure that the sanctions webpage of the government portal is updated within 24 hours of receiving updated notifications from the UK government. These updates are required to notify the public of additions or delistings to the various sanctions regimes in Bermuda, in force in Bermuda. Thus, upon notification from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and His Majesty's Treasury Office of Financial Sanctions Implementation, the FSRU updates the web page and notifies its supervisors to immediately advise their supervised entities of the changes. Mr. Chair, during the reporting period, the FSRU has been diligently working to introduce a subscription service that enables entities to sign up online to receive sanction update notices. This project is nearing completion and is anticipated that the subscription service will be launched before the end of June 2025. The FSRU will continue its outreach to government ministries, department, and industry to raise awareness of sanctions obligations. During the reporting period, outreach was provided to the Customs Department. The FSRU is also developing a virtual tool to help entities better understand their obligations and regularly responds to queries from both industry stakeholders and government agencies seeking guidance. The FSRU also continues to work closely with UK counterpart authorities, overseas territories counterparts, and domestic operational partners to ensure a consistent approach is used in the effective implementation of targeted financial sanctions and trade sanctions in Bermuda. Law Reform Commission, Business Unit 97100. Original estimate for 2024-25, $164,000. Estimate for 2025-26, $171,000. An increase of $7,000 or 4%. Mr. Chair, the Law Reform Commission has been allocated a budget disbursement of $171,000 for the fiscal year 2025-26. This amount is a $7,000 or 4% increase from the 2024-25 estimates. This increase is attributable to salary adjustment. There was no movement in the other current expenditures. Law Reform Commission, Mr. Chair, is an independent public body established by statute, namely the Law Reform Commission Act 2009. The functions of the commission are to study and keep under review the laws of Bermuda with a view to their systemic development and reform. Bermuda's first Law Reform Commissioners were appointed in July 2019, and a new cohort is being presented for approval. The commission consists of a chairperson and between 4 and 7 commissioners appointed by His Excellency the Governor based on their qualifications, training, and experience. Appointments are made on the nomination of any 2 of the following: the Attorney General, the Chief Justice, or the President of the Bar Council. Mr. Chair, the Ministry of Justice is sponsoring Ministry for the Law Reform Commission. It's the sponsoring ministry for the Law Reform Commission and has previously summoned the commission's course from within its headquarters annual budget allocation, and has previously subsummed the commission's cost from within its headquarters annual budget allocation. Sorry about that. Mr. Chair, the fiscal year 2023-2024 2025 budget disbursement for the Law Reform Commission establishes it as a new business unit. As we continue to devise operational savings within the overall budgetary restraints, the ministry headquarters continues its financial stewardship of the commission. This is done by identifying synergies and resource sharing, which will continue into the next fiscal year. As such, the statutory role of Director of Law Reform Commission, per Section 9 of the Law Reform Commission Act 2009, was designed and approved by the Public Service Commission to be a shared role with the ministry headquarters via the FTE post of Law Reform Policy and Strategy Council. $165,000 is allocated for the fiscal year 2025-2026 for that FTE salary. Mr. Chair, the Commission is transitioning to a hybrid model in which independent commissioners are supported by a fully staffed Law Reform Office. This transition includes comprehensive training for both incoming commissioners and support staff to ensure they are well equipped for their roles. Oversight will be provided by the current Law Reform Policy and Strategy Council, Mr. Kevon Simons, alongside the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Justice. Every effort will be made within the budget allocation to support the Commission's mandate to modernize Bermuda's laws and institutions. Mr. Chair, for 2025-2026, administrative and operational costs will continue to be supported through the shared services of a ministry headquarters administrator and careful use of headquarters budget allocations. While this arrangement is not ideal, steps will be taken to review and renew roles and responsibilities to maintain Bermuda's strong legal reputation and ensure our laws remain current and aligned with Commonwealth and global standards. Take a break, Mr. Chair.
And while you take a break, Junior Minister Lister, the chair would like to recognize the minister and the AG that is in the chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Ministry of Justice 2025-2026 budget reflects more than arithmetic. It represents our shared commitment to fiscal responsibility and careful stewardship of public resources. Our dedicated public officers will continue to advance fair and equitable access to justice through legal services, policy, and legislation that upholds the rule of law and supports social progress for the people of Bermuda. I am confident that the ministry will maintain high-quality service delivery in 2025-2026, driven by sustainable programs and reforms that strengthen Bermuda's reputation for effective self-governance and respect for the rule of law. Mr. Chair, grants. The original estimate in 2024-2025, $1,625,000. Estimate for 2025-2026, $2,125,000. This represents an increase of $500,000 or 31%. The budget allocation for grants for fiscal year 2025-26 is found at page C17 of the approved estimates of revenue and expenditure for fiscal year 2025-26 budget book. We highlight $2,125,000 has been allocated. This represents an increase of $500,000 or 31% from the 2024-25 fiscal year. Mr. Chair, in line with the government's commitment to combat money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing, the Financial Intelligence Agency was established under the Financial Intelligence Agency Act 2007. The FIA is an independent agency authorized to receive, store, analyze, and disseminate financial intelligence relating to suspected money laundering and terrorist financing activities, primarily received in the form of suspicious activity reports and suspicious transaction reports. The agency is empowered to share intelligence with the Bermuda Police Service, foreign intelligence counterparts, and other relevant domestic authorities. For the 2024-25 fiscal year, the FIA was allocated $1,625,000, and $500, consistent with the previous year's budget. In accordance with its statutory obligations, the FIA submitted quarterly expenditure reports and its audited annual report to the Minister of Justice. The FIA remains steadfast in its effort to counter terrorist financing, money laundering, and the financing of proliferation, working diligently to protect Bermuda's financial integrity and international reputation. Training and capacity building. Mr. Chair, in 2024-25, the FIA continued to enhance its capabilities through targeted training. Staff participated in virtual webinars and courses on topics including sanctions, corruption, digital assets, cryptocurrency, and proliferation financing, hosted by leading institutions such as the Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists, the International Compliance Association, the Association of Certified Financial Crime Specialists, the Financial Action Task Force, Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, and the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units. In addition, the FIA director and IT coordinator traveled to Latvia to attend training by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime on the Go AML platform used to collect SARs and STRs. Highlights from 2024-25. The FIA contributed significantly to domestic and international financial intelligence efforts. Key achievements included contributions to the national money laundering, terrorist financing, proliferation financing, and legal persons and arrangements risk assessments. Ongoing participation in National Anti-Money Laundering Committee, working groups, and other cross-agency initiatives. Attendance at the July 2024 Egmont Plenary and January 2025 Working Group sessions, and attendance at the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force Plenary and Working Group meetings in June 2024 and December 2024. Statistics. In 2024, the reporting entities continue to file suspicious activity reports and suspicious transaction reports to the FIA. This year, the agency received a total of 870 SAR and STR reports. Throughout 2024, the FIA conducted analysis and issued disclosures to local law enforcement, competent authorities, and overseas financial intelligence units. In support of this work, the agency issued 56 information requests to Egmont Group FIUs and 1 to a local counterpart. Additionally, using its authority under Section 16 of the Financial Intelligence Agency Act, the FIA issued 143 requests to 10 different reporting entities. As a result of these inquiries, the FIA has disclosed 215 reports to local law enforcement, local competent authorities, and overseas financial intelligence units, utilizing 365 suspicious activity reports and suspicious transaction reports. This breaks down to 124 disclosures disseminated locally and 91 disclosures to foreign financial intelligence units. Also, so far in 2025, the FIA received a total of 75 incoming requests for information. That is 56 from local counterparts and 19 from foreign financial intelligence units. Looking ahead for the 2025-26 fiscal year, the increased grant will be strategically used to strengthen the FIA's operational capacity and effectiveness. Key investments will include the recruitment of additional analysts and support staff, upgrades to the Go AML platform and IT infrastructure, and enhanced training, both in person and virtual, focus on high risk and emerging areas such as digital assets and AI. The FIA will also establish a dedicated strategic analysis workflow to support policy reform and expand stakeholder engagement through public-private partnerships and targeted outreach to improve the quality and compliance of suspicious activity and transaction reports. In conclusion, the FIA remains steadfast in delivering its mandate. The role that they play is invaluable as they continue to combat financial crimes and protect our community. I extend gratitude to the board and staff at the FIA for their tireless efforts.
And just to use that as a segue, the Honorable Member Junior Minister Lister has just finished presenting on Head 87. He will be going on to Head 3 under the Judicial Department. We do have in the chamber the AG and her supporting technical officers. And Junior Minister Lister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not yet moving to the next head. I'll just give you subjective analysis of Head 87. Subjective analysis, Mr. Chair, the subjective analysis of current account estimates of the Ministry of Justice Headquarters 2025-26 is found on page B80. I will highlight the material object code increases and decreases. Salaries decreased by $609,000, primarily due to salary adjustments offset by the transfer of 8 positions to another ministry. Advertising and promotion expenses have decreased by $38,000, as these costs were previously associated with consumer affairs. With the transfer of consumer affairs to another ministry, this expenditure is no longer required. Professional services increased by $890,000, largely driven by higher legal and consultancy fees. While rental expenses increased for legal aid, the net effect was a decrease of $24,000 due to the transfer of consumer affairs rental obligations to another ministry. Other expenses rose by $251,000 due to the introduction of funding for 2 new boards and additional support for an existing board. Finally, there was a $500,000 increase in grant funding provided. Capital expenditure, Mr. Chair, the budget allocation for capital expenditure is found at page C10 of the estimates of revenue and expenditure. The Ministry of Justice Headquarters has been allocated a total of $29,000 for fiscal year 25-26. This funding will be utilized to acquire new office furniture as the existing items are fully depreciated and have no remaining residual value. Manpower, Business Unit 97000, administration has 4 staff, which will consist of an executive assistant, administrative assistant, policy analyst, and a comptroller. Business Unit 97030, legal aid has 10 staff, which will consist of a senior legal aid counsel, 2 legal aid counsel, administrative assistant, paralegal, executive assistant, administrative assistant, accounts officer, and 2 pupils. Business Unit 97060, Treatment of Offenders Board has 1 staff, which will consist of an administrative assistant. Business Unit 97080, Financial Sanctions Implementation Unit has 2 staff, which consists of a head of financial sanctions and a legal counsel. Business Unit 97100, Law Reform Commission has 1 staff, which consists of a law reform, policy, and strategy counsel. Mr. Chair, this budget reflects a targeted investment in strengthening justice delivery and upholding the rule of law in Bermuda. It is aligned with national priorities, and through this allocation, the ministry will continue to drive accountability by delivering measurable and impactful performance outcomes. This ends my presentation on Head 87, Ministry of Justice. I will now move on to Head 3, the Judicial Department, which can be found on pages B83 to B90 of the budget book. Mr. Chair, the mission statement: the judiciary is established by the Constitution as a separate and independent branch of government. Its task is to adjudicate charges of criminal conduct, resolve disputes, uphold the rights and freedoms of the individual, and preserve the rule of law. The mandate of the judiciary is to administer justice through the effective management of the courts of Bermuda. The mandate of the administrative arm of the Judiciary Department, is to provide the services and support necessary to enable the judiciary to achieve its mission. Manpower. The judicial system is comprised of 3 levels of court: the Magistrates Court, consisting of criminal, civil, and family courts, the Supreme Court, consisting of criminal, civil, and commercial, appellate, family, matrimonial, and probate jurisdictions, and the Court of Appeal. Ancillary service offered under the umbrella of judicial system include bailiff services. The Honorable Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary. The registrar is the head of the judicial department. Collectively, the judiciary and the judicial department have a staffing complement of 70 officers, 2 of whom require a work permit, puisne judges. 55 or 79% of posts are filled substantively, 7 or 10% are filled by temporary relief employees, and 8 or 11% are currently vacant. Expenditure overview. Capital expenditure. The capital expenditure estimates for 25-26 are found on page C10 of the approved estimates of revenue and expenditure budget book. The Judicial Department has been allocated a total of $1 million for fiscal year 25-26 for the replacement of its outdated case management system, JEMS. With the procurement process well underway, the department is hopeful that the implementation of a new case management system will be imminent. The implementation of this system is expected to catapult the judiciary into the 21st century, affording both the judiciary and the department the ability to deliver more efficient, modernized services. In addition, $18,000 has been allocated for computer equipment. Original estimates for 2024-25, $800,000, and the estimates for 2025-26, again, $800,000. Current account expenditure. The current account estimates for Head 3, the Judicial Department, begin on page B84 of the budget book. A total of $10,334,000 has been allocated to Head 3 within the Ministry of Legal Affairs and Constitutional Reform. This amount represents a $783,000 or 8% increase from the 2024-25 fiscal year. Additional funding that has been allocated to the department primarily reflects salary increases following negotiations with the BPSU. These salary increases account for a total of $307,729,000 of the additional funding allocated to the department. Additional funding has been allocated to cover fees payable for legal services. This includes fees payable to the assistant justices who have been appointed to hear matters in the Supreme Court, and fees payable to local law firms who have been instructed to represent members of the judiciary. Lastly, additional funding has been allocated to cover increased fees for services that the department is legislatively mandated to cover. This includes the cost for autopsy reports and the fees for transcription services. Original estimates 2024-25, $9,551,000. Estimates for 25-26, $10,334,000, an increase of $783,000 or a percentage of 8%. Performance measures by business unit. Mr. Chair, I am pleased to provide an analysis by business unit of the budget estimates for the financial department, for the judicial department for the fiscal year 25-26 compared to 24-25. The Supreme Court, business unit 13000, criminal injuries compensation. Original estimates 24-25, $208,000. Estimates for 25-26, $0. A decrease of $208,000 or 100%. This funding has now been allocated elsewhere within the ministry and is no longer accounted for in the Judicial Department's core center. Business Unit 13010, Supreme Court. Original estimates for 24-25, $1,024,000. Estimates for 25-26, $1,184,000, an increase of $160,000 or 16%. This cost center provides for the salaries and operational expenses for the administration of the Supreme Court Registry, for which there are 10 posts, including the Assistant Registrar, Supreme Court Manager, Accounts Personnel, and Administrative Officers. This increase in funding is to the increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries and the cost of literary subscriptions required for the judiciary to perform their judicial functions. Business Unit 13015, Courtrooms and Chambers. The original estimate 24-25, $2,722,000. Estimates for 25-26, $3,231,000. An increase of $509,000 or 19%. This court center provides for the salaries and operational expenses for the courtrooms and chambers of the Supreme Court, criminal, civil and commercial, and family/matrimonial divisions. There are 20 posts accounted for in this court center, including the members of the judiciary, the Chief Justice, puisne judges, and the register. When the performance measures were submitted in December 24 for the upcoming fiscal year, the statistics for the Supreme Court's criminal jurisdiction and appellate jurisdiction were not available. The department can now report that in 24-25, a total of 39 matters were commenced in the criminal jurisdiction and a total of 35 actions were commenced in the appellate jurisdiction. In the civil and commercial jurisdiction, a total of 420 actions were commenced, 1,000 orders were made, and 80 judgments and rulings were published. In the matrimonial family jurisdiction, a total of 160 divorce petitions were filed, with 90 conditional orders for divorce and 100 certificates making conditional orders final issued. In the probate jurisdiction, 140 applications were filed and 120 grants were issued. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries and also the fees payable to assistant justices and to local law firms. Due to Bermuda's small size, occasionally it is the case that the judiciary's current complement of judges are conflicted from hearing certain matters that are commenced in the Supreme Court. When these cases arise, the governor, in consultation with the Chief Justice, will appoint an assistant justice to have conduct of the matter. Given that there has been an increase in cases that have been filed in the Supreme Court, the judiciary has had to utilize assistant justices on more frequent basis. Additionally, there have been cases where litigants have commenced Supreme Court and Court of Appeal proceedings against magistrates, judges, and the register in their judicial capacity. These cases must be contested and cause will be sought against the litigants who commence each action. Regrettably, the Attorney General's chambers is conflicted in being able to represent members of the judiciary, and as such, there must be funding in place to retain private counsel. Business Unit 13025, Court Technology Office. Original estimate for 24-25, $472,000. Estimates for 24-25, $510,000, an increase of $38,000 or 8%. This court center provides salaries for the information technology section. There are 3 posts: the IT manager, IT assistant, and a data entry clerk. This funding also includes the cost for transcription services and maintenance fees for the court's court reporting system, Court Smart. The court's IT equipment and software applications must be maintained, kept up to date, and will ultimately have to be replaced when necessary. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries and the fees for transcription services. Due to an increase in the number of criminal matters proceeding to the Court of Appeal, the department requires additional funding to cover the increased cost of preparing transcripts of the Supreme Court proceedings. It is to be noted that the Supreme Court Registry provides transcripts for the Court of Appeal as a result of a legislative mandate. The Court of Appeal, Business Unit 13020. Original estimates 24-25, $1,002,000. Estimates 25-26, $1,016,000, an increase of $14,000 or 1%. This court center provides the sitting and retainer fees of the President of the Court of Appeal, 5 Justices of Appeal, and the salaries of 2 posts: the Administrative Officer, Court of Appeal, and an Administrative Assistant. The Court of Appeal meets 3 times a year. Each session is 3 weeks long. The increase in funding to this court center primarily reflects salaries with a nominal increase in costs to cover courier services. The Magistrates Court, Business Unit 13040, Adjudication. Original estimates for 24-25, $1,061,000. Increase estimates for 24-25, $1,087,000, an increase of $26,000 or 2%. This court center provides funding for the senior magistrate, 4 magistrates, and acting appointments where necessary. The Magistrates Court is presided over by the Worshipful Senior Magistrate Maxanne J. Anderson, the Worshipful Tyrone Chan, the Worshipful C. Craig Attridge, the Worshipful Maria Sophianis, and the Worshipful Oralee Cassidy, all of whom bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the magistracy. In addition, the senior magistrate has an acting magistrate roster so as to give opportunities to those in the legal profession to acquire judicial experience and skills which will put them in a position to elevate to the bench. The Magistrates Court is multi-jurisdictional, having conduct of civil, criminal, traffic, and family matters. There are also the treatment courts, such as Mental Health Treatment Court, Drug Treatment Court, and the Driving Under Influence Court, which continues to reduce recidivism by addressing the drug, alcohol, and mental health challenges of offenders. The Case Management Court, which is conducted once a week, is designed to resolve all disclosure, evidential, and procedural issues before a matter proceeds to court. As a result, instances where a trial would not have proceeded because of such issues have been significantly reduced from previous years. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries. Business Unit 13050, Civil Records. Original estimates for 24-25, $261,000. Estimates for 25-26, $273,000, an increase of $12,000 or 5%. This court center provides for the administrative arm of the Magistrates Court Civil Section. The Civil Section is overseen by the office manager, who has under their remit 1 senior court associate and 2 court associates. The Civil Section provides case management and court services for the resolution of civil claims up to $25,000 and landlord-tenant matters under the Landlord-Tenant Act of 1974 and the Rent Increases Domestic Premises Control Act 1978. The Civil Court continued to accept filings of all proceedings, including evictions and the recovery of rent arrears. Proceedings were initiated by various entities, which include but are not limited to law firms, litigants in persons, and credit agencies. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries. Business Unit 13060, Family and Child Support. Original estimates 24-25, $511,000. Estimates for 25-26, $531,000, an increase of $20,000 or 4%. This court center provides for the salaries and operational expenses for the Family and Child Support section of Magistrates Court. There are 6 posts, including the Family Support Officer, Enforcement Officer, an Administrative Assistant, and 3 court associates. The Family Court is a special court, which was created to handle the specific needs of children, whether born within or outside of marriage, and matters arising in respect of their custody, care, maintenance, and violations against the law, juvenile offenders. There are 2 family courts. Each family court proceeding is presided over by a magistrate and 2 special panel members, 1 male and female, pursuant to the Magistrates Act 1948. In 2024, the number of persons serving on the special court panel totaled 44. The panel members assist the magistrates in decision-making, and their value to the family court and its continued success is immeasurable. The overall number of new cases filed in the family court in 2024-25 totaled 135. There was a nominal decrease in 2024-25. Take that back. The overall number of new cases filed in the family court in 2023-24 totaled 135. There was a nominal decrease in 2024-25, which saw 132 new cases filed in the family court. Notably, there was a rise in the number of domestic violence orders adjudicated in the magistrates court of 59% in 2024-25 when compared to 23-24. In 2024-25, a total of 155 domestic violence orders were issued, compared to a total of 92 DVRs issued in 23-24. Domestic violence remains a prevalent issue within our community that needs to be addressed. The anticipated establishment of a domestic violence court represents a significant advancement in our judicial approach, allowing us to address the underlying issues therapeutically and provide comprehensive support to victims. The total number of child support payments received in 2023-24 was $2,790,050. There was a decrease in the amount of child support payments received in 2024-25, which totaled $2,690,249. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries. Business Unit 13070, Administration. Original estimates, $1,279,000. Estimates for 25-26, $1,330,000, an increase of $51,000 or 4%. This court center provides for the salaries and operational expenses for the administration of the magistrates court, for which there are 6 posts, including the court manager, office manager, accounting officer, and administrative public officers. In 24-25, the cashier's office collected a total of $5,656,981 in fees and fines, which is a decrease of $458,624 when compared to 23-24, when a total of $6,115,605 was collected. As it did in previous years, the magistrates court still takes into consideration the financial circumstances of individuals who have been fined, and accordingly, the magistrates court have allowed persons to pay off the fines in installments. Additionally, magistrates are making community service orders in lieu of the imposition of fines, so that persons who are unable to pay fines can give back to society through charity work. Due to the increased inability of persons unable to pay their fines, the number of community service orders has drastically increased over the past year. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries and the cost to cover autopsy reports. Business Unit 13080, Criminal and Traffic Records. Original estimates 24-25, $464,000. Estimates 25-26, $595,000, an increase of $131,000 or 28%. The criminal/traffic records sections falls under the remit of the office manager and is supervised by the records supervisor. There are 2 court associates designated to this section who provide case management and court services related to the resolution of criminal, traffic, and parking ticket cases, as well as manage all record requests. Additionally, the court associates provide clerking support to the magistrates and are solely responsible for inputting demerit points into the Transport Control Department's driver's vehicle registration system and the court's current case management system, GEMS. The number of new criminal cases filed in magistrate court increased from 537 in 23-24 to 538 in 24-25. This was not the case as it relates to the number of new traffic matters filed, which saw a slight decline from 4,510 in 2023-24 to 3,986 in 2024-25. Additionally, the number of parking cases filed increased in 2024-25 to 29,219 when compared to 23-24, which had 28,451 matters filed. In 2024-25, the criminal traffic record section processed a total of 2,660 record requests, which is an increase when compared to 23-24 of 2,500. The requests come from various sources, which include but are not limited to private citizens, local and overseas employment agencies, private companies, Canadian immigration, the U.S. consulate, and etc. As stated in prior briefs, it remains the department's intention to increase the fee for a record request from the magistrate's court. The current fee remains disproportionately low at $10 per application, when a similar report from the Bermuda Police Service is $100. It is anticipated that this fee will be increased during the course of this upcoming fiscal year. It is to be noted that the fees payable in respect of filings and services offered in the magistrate's court increase generally pursuant to the court fees and expenses amendment act and validation rules 2024, which came into effect on August 1st, 2024. Prior to this increase, the fees charged in the magistrate court had not increased in almost 60 years. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries. Business Unit 13090, Bailiff's Office. Original estimate for 24-25, $547,000. Estimates in 24-25, estimates in 25-26, $577,000, an increase of $30,000 or 5%. This court center provides for the salaries, service, and execution of court papers inclusive of civil, family, Supreme Court, and foreign service. There is one head bailiff, duty provost marshal general, one administrative assistant, and 4 bailiffs who travel throughout the island serving court processes. During the 2023-24 fiscal year, the bailiffs served a total of 370 summons. During the 2025-2024 fiscal year, the bailiffs served a total of 370 summons, 128 DVOs, and executed 52 evictions. The increase in funding to this court center reflects salaries. Revenue overview. Mr. Chair, the revenue estimates for 25-26 are found on page B5 of the approved estimates of revenue and expenditure budget book. Revenues are projected at $4,811,000, or an increase of 11% from 2024-25. Total revenue for 2024-25, original for 2025-26, original estimates for 24-25, $4,329,000. Estimates for 2025-26, $4,811, an increase of $482,000 or 11%. Supreme Court. Filing fees for the Supreme Court. Historically, fees payable to the Supreme Court Registry in respect of documents filed in new and active proceedings is a source of revenue that has not been recorded, as the majority of these fees are paid by way of revenue stamps that counsel and litigants purchase through the Accountant General. In 2025, the department began recording the fees paid in respect of filings in the Supreme Court's civil and commercial jurisdiction. During the period January 1, 2025 to March 31st, 2025, the Supreme Court Registry recorded a total of $136,473 in revenue for civil and commercial matters. It is to be noted that with effect from March 31st, 2024, the fees payable to the Supreme Court Registry increased pursuant to the rules of the Supreme Court Amendment Rules 2024 and the Civil Appeal Amendment Rules 2024. The new fee structure brought the fees charged by the Supreme Court Registry in line with other similar jurisdictions such as the Cayman Islands and has provided an increased revenue stream for the government of Bermuda. Fees for overseas registered associates and court fees and charges. The Supreme Court Registry also processes applications submitted by local law firms to register their locally and overseas based attorneys/associates to practice law. In 2024-25, the revenue received for overseas registered associate applications decreased from 36,000 collected in the prior year to 25,000. There was, however, a significant increase in the revenue received for court fees and charges. This revenue includes the fees charged to conduct hearings in the civil/commercial courts for obtaining copies of court records, swearing of affidavits, and certifications. The department recorded a total of $213,124 in revenue for court fees and changes in 2024-25, which is an increase of $160,517 from the previous year, which saw a total of $50,607. This increase is largely due to the department making a concerted effort to enforce the payment of hearing fees in respect of civil and commercial matters in accordance with the new fee structure. Stamp duty on deceased estates. Lastly, the Supreme Court Registry Probate Jurisdiction processes applications to probate the estates of deceased individuals. A tax assessment is made on the net estate value of a deceased estate. The net estate value is a calculation of the total value of the deceased gross estate less the value of statutory deductions and exemptions, including the value of property designated as a primary family homestead and spousal benefit. The total revenue receipts for deceased estates in 24-25 is $1,649,000, an increase from the previous year, which saw a total of $747,600. Total stamp duty assessed for grants issued for 2024-25 is $1,717,000, whereas the previous year was $1,183,000. Magistrates Court, traffic, parking, and criminal fines. The major components of revenue in the Magistrates Court are traffic, parking, and criminal fines. The total amount recorded for traffic fines in 24-25 was $1,646,772, a decrease from $1,841,077 in 23-24. The total amount recorded for parking fines in 24-25 was $461,450, a decrease from $643,250. The total amount recorded for criminal fines in 24-25 was $137,684, an increase from $115,623 in 23-24. It should be noted that there remains a concern that the Magistrate Court Cashiers section provides all of the resources to collect parking ticket fines on behalf of the Corporation of Hamilton. These resources are funded by the Bermuda government. There is no financial reimbursement by the Corporation of Hamilton to recover the cost of collecting their fines, as 100% of fines are transferred directly to the Corporation of Hamilton. This results in a loss of revenue to the Bermuda government. The department has recently engaged in discussions with COH to address this, and it is hoped that the department and COH can come to an agreement that will be a benefit to both the government and the Corporation of Hamilton. Court fees. The revenue received for civil fees in 24-25 was $138,615, which is a significant increase when compared to the revenue received for civil fees in 23-24, $88,675. This increase in revenue is largely attributed to the new fee structure that went into effect in August 2024. Plans for the upcoming year. Mr. Chair, in addition to the implementation of a new case management system, funding for which has been allocated in the upcoming fiscal year, the department has received support from the Attorney General to restructure the organization by redefining now defunct positions. The most significant and anticipated change to the department's organizational structure includes the addition of a second assistant registrar and an administrative officer supervisor for the Supreme Court's matrimonial and probate jurisdictions. The Assistant Officer for Matrimony and Probate will have oversight over the matrimonial and probate divisions of the Supreme Court, while the Assistant Registrar will lend additional administrative and quasi-judicial support to the Register and Department as a whole. The scope of responsibilities falling within the Register remit is extensive. Not only does the Registrar have quasi-judicial functions and is required to preside over applications within the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, the Registrar is also the head of department. As head of department, the Registrar is responsible for strategic planning, developing and maintaining the department's budget, human resource management, facilities and operations management, and procurement. Additionally, the Registrar has administrative duties that are set out in statute, which include scheduling all court proceedings and maintaining the court's records. With an increase in the number of complexity levels of matters being filed at all levels of the court, additional support at the level of administrative registrar is required. As to the creation of an administrative officer matrimonial probate post, it is to be noted that there are currently administrative officers over the criminal and civil and commercial jurisdictions of the Supreme Court, but no such position exists in the matrimonial or probate jurisdictions. The creation of a second assistant registrar and an AO matrimonial/probate will fill significant service gaps and greatly improve the department's ability to deliver prompt and efficient services. It is also anticipated that final preparations will be made to commence renovations to the Dame Louis Braun Evans building to create additional fit-for-purpose court and administrative space. With the department now fully vacated from Sessions House, the judiciary is suffering from a lack of physical infrastructure. This can have the undesirable effect of negatively impacting the timely disposal of court proceedings. The department is looking forward to continuous work with the Department of Public Land and Buildings this fiscal year to progress the renovation project. Mr. Chair, this ends my presentation on Head 3, the Judicial Review.
Yes, thank you, Junior Minister. For those in the listening audience, we have just finished Head 3 under the Judicial Review. We are now in our second hour of 5 hours for this, for the heads 87, 3, 4, 25, 74, and 75. Junior Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will now begin the brief on Head 4, Attorney General's Chambers. Mr. Chair, the mission statement, department objectives, and current account estimates for the Attorney General's Chambers Head 4 begin on page B91 of the estimates book. The mission statement, as legal advisors to government, the Attorney General's Chambers is committed to provide high-quality legal advice and litigation services and to draft sound legislation ever mindful of the need to protect the public interest and to safeguard and preserve the fundamental rights and freedoms enshrined in our Constitution. In doing so, we also pledge to uphold the traditions of equity, fairness, and justice inherent in the legal profession, whilst simultaneously remaining on the cutting edge of legal trends and technologies to ensure that we are abreast of and in accord with global trends. Expenditure. The original estimates for 24-25, $5,702,000. Estimates for 25-26, $7,052,000. An increase of $1,350,000 or 24%. A total of $7,052,000 has been allocated for chambers. This represents an increase of $1,350,000 or 24% from 24-25. Mr. Chair, the Attorney General's Chambers objectives are: 1, to provide quality legal services to the Governor of Bermuda; 2, to advise all government ministries, departments, and entities on the law applicable to their operational requirements; 3, to draft legislation as required to implement the government's legislative agenda to maintain Bermuda's legislative database and to support law reform; 4, to draft contracts international instruments for mutual tax information exchange, conveyances, and other documents required for public purposes, and to provide advice on private bills. 5, to conduct litigation in the civil courts of Bermuda on behalf of the government of Bermuda. And 6, to process mutual legal assistance requests on behalf of international jurisdictions. Mr. Chair, the Attorney General's Chambers is functionally divided into 6 programs accounted for below as follows. Business Unit 14010, Administration. Original estimates 24-25, $435,000. Estimates for 25-26, $444,000, an increase of $9,000 or 2%. Administration provides administrative support to the Attorney General, Solicitor General, Deputy Solicitor General, Senior Crown Counsel, and Crown Counsel. This cost center provides salaries for an office manager, a customer service representative, a records management administrator, and an accounts officer. It also supports the purchasing of office supplies that are common to all sections of the department. The modest increase is due to the salary increase received by the public servants. In addition to the salaries provided for in this cost center, it also provides $46,000 for repair and cleaning services, $25,000 for office supplies, $20,000 for telephone services, $12,000 on drinking water, $31,000 for repair and maintenance of office equipment, and $4,000 for hospitality expenses. Business Unit 14020, Advisory. Original estimates for 24-25, $2,440,000. Estimates for 25-26, $2,673,000, an increase of $233,000 or 10%. Mr. Chair, the advisory section is responsible for providing quality legal advice to all government departments and conducting litigation matters brought by or against the government. Additionally, advisory is responsible for recovering debts owed to the government and processing mutual legal assistance requests. This cost center provides salaries for 1 Solicitor General, 2 Deputy Solicitor Generals, 2 Senior Crown Counsels, 6 Crown Counsels, 2 administrative assistants, 1 paralegal to the Solicitor General, and 1 pupil. The increase is due to legal services, funding for the Deputy Solicitor General post for the full year, and the salary increase received by public servants. In addition to the salaries provided for in this cost center, it also provides $166,000 for consultant services, $150,000 for legal services, $20,000 for software maintenance, $15,000 for membership fees, $11,000 for books and subscriptions, and $11,000 for office supplies. Business Unit 14030, Legislative Drafting. Original estimates for 24-25, $2,097,000. Estimate for 25-26, $2,842,000, an increase of $745,000 or 36%. The legislative drafting section advises regarding proposals to introduce or amend legislation, drafts primary and subordinate legislation for all government departments, provides advice and support to ministers in the House of Assembly and Senate as the respective legislation progresses. This section also provides advice to ministers and the governor on legal and constitutional issues and on matters of parliamentary procedure. The salaries provided for in this cost center include those of the Chief Parliamentary Counsel, Duty Chief Parliamentary Counsel, 6 Parliamentary Counsel, 2 Assistant Parliamentary Counsel, 1 Legislative Database Manager, 1 Legislative Editor, 1 Legislative Administrator, and 1 Legislative Database Administrator. The year-over-year budgetary increase is due to budgeting for payments to drafting consultants, the temporary additional parliamentary counsel, and the salary increase received by public servants. In addition to the salaries provided for in this cost center, it also provides $3,000 for local training, $10,000 for overseas training, $8,000 for membership fees, $20,000 for office supplies, and $517,000 for local consulting fees. Business Unit 1404, Revised Laws of Bermuda. The original estimates for 24-25, $244,000. Estimates 25-26, $369,000, an increase of $125,000 or 51%. Mr. Chair, this cost center supports the consolidation, periodic revision, and publication of the laws of Bermuda. It is responsible for providing members of both houses of the legislature, businesses, lawyers, and the general public with access to the revised statutes and regulations of Bermuda. It also supports the ongoing consolidation of primary and subordinate legislation. The budgetary increase is due to a pricing increase relating to the LIMS software to enable better system support and an upgrade in security to the online legal database. Business Unit 14050, Debt Collection. Original estimates 24-25, $338,000. Estimate for 25-26, $534,000, which represents an increase of $196,000 or 58%. Mr. Chair, the Debt Enforcement Unit within the Attorney General's chambers was established by the government to assist the Department of Social Insurance and the Office of Tax Commissioner in the recovery of unpaid social insurance contributions, payroll tax, land tax, and other taxes owed to the government. The cost center provides salaries for 1 Crown Consul, 1 Junior Crown Consul, and 1 administrator. The increase is due to the addition of a Junior Crown Consul and a temporary additional Junior Crown Consul. The addition of these posts will ensure and assist with the training of Bermudian junior attorneys that wish to enter the public service. Business Unit 14060, the Law Library. Original estimate 24-25, $148,000. Estimate for 25-26, $190,000, an increase of $42,000 or 28%. This program provides for the cost of maintaining the law library and the Attorney General's chambers, which includes the purchase of books, periodicals, and the provision of access to leading online legal information sources such as LexisNexis, VLAX, Practical Law, and Westlaw UK. The increase is due to the law library moving from primarily hard copy subscriptions to almost entirely digital subscriptions, which have now incorporated the use of AI. Capital acquisitions. The original estimates 2024-25, $10,000. Estimates for 25-26, $10,000, which represents a 0% change. The budget allocation for capital expenditures found at page C10 of the budget book. The Attorney General's chambers has been allocated a capital amount of $10,000 for the fiscal year 25-26. Funding for this amount will be used to purchase office equipment. Performance measures. Mr. Chair, during the 2024 calendar year, 43 acts were enacted and 133 statutory instruments were made. In addition to the annual budget legislation, there were a number of new and amending acts to give effect to the government's legislative agenda. The Bermuda Laws website, which contains all of Bermuda's current laws and subordinate legislation, is updated in real time from within chambers, and we are continuing to make improvements to the site. Updating the e-Gazette from within chambers allows regulations to be published and take effect immediately. Over the past budget year, we received 8 mutual legal assistance requests, which obligations arise out of various international arrangements. The advisory section also acts as attorneys for the Enforcement Authority under the Proceeds of Crime Act 1997. Over the past budget year, there was one civil recovery proceeding resulting in $100,000 being confiscated. We also completed 3 Section 51 of the Proceeds of Crime Act 1997 cases, which resulted in $59,000 being confiscated. Staffing, Civil Advisory. Mr. Chair, there are currently 5 vacant posts within the Civil Advisory and Litigation section of the Attorney General's chambers. 2 Deputy Solicitor Generals, 1 Crown Counsel, 1 Junior Crown Counsel, and 1 Administrative Assistant. Recruitment for the vacant Deputy Solicitor General post has begun, and interviews are due to take place shortly. The remainder of the posts are in the process of having the job descriptions reviewed. The current staffing levels of the Civil Advisory section are 1 Solicitor General, 2 Senior Crown Counsel, 6 Crown Counsel, 1 Junior Crown Counsel, 1 Administrative Assistant, 1 Temporary Relief Administrative Assistant, and 1 Paralegal to the Solicitor General. In December 2024, Shayla Hassel joined the Civil Advisory section as a Junior Crown Counsel, which demonstrates a commitment to hire young Bermudian counsel. Staffing for the legislative drafting. In the drafting section of chambers, there are 5 vacancies: Deputy Chief Parliamentary Counsel, 1 Parliamentary Counsel, 1 Assistant Parliamentary Counsel, and 2 temporary additional Parliamentary Counsel. The vacancy in the Parliamentary Counsel position arose with the resignation of Ms. Lauren Francis in February 2025, who completed 13 years service in chambers. We thank Ms. Francis for her dedicated work and commitment to chambers, and we wish her well in her endeavors. Recruitment for the 5 vacant positions has begun, and interviews are due to take place shortly. We will be seeking permission to create 3 additional posts: 1 Deputy Chief Parliamentary Counsel, 2 Senior Parliamentary Counsel to support professional and leadership progression, and 1 to convert 1 temporary additional post to an established post so that a Bermudian Assistant Parliamentary Counsel can be promoted during this fiscal year. The current staffing levels in the legislative drafting section are 1 Chief Parliamentary Counsel, 3 Parliamentary Counsel, 1 temporary additional Parliamentary Counsel, 1 Assistant Parliamentary Counsel, 1 temporary relief Parliamentary Counsel, and 3 consultants. In addition to these dedicated lawyers who are responsible for drafting all government bills and statutory instruments, the section is fortunate to have an excellent administrative team comprising 4 posts: Legislative Database Manager, Legislative Editor, Legislative Administrator, and Legislative Administrator and Legislative Administrator Database, each of whom plays a critical part in the timely production, publication, and consolidation of legislation. Training and development. Mr. Chair, the Attorney General's chambers includes within its mandate the development of its professional and administrative staff. In December 2024, the acting Senior Crown Counsel and a Crown Counsel attended a virtual training session for anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism. Additionally, to encourage collaboration and a healthy work environment, members of the Civil Advisory section participated in 2 team building exercises held in September 24 and March 2025. This formed part of the development of staff initiative. During the course of the 2024-25 budget year, the Solicitor General coordinated the pupillage program of the Ministry of Justice, where 1 Crown Counsel serves as pupil master for 1 pupil, Ms. Denzel Swan, who commenced her pupillage on the 1st of October 2024. The pupillage program provides each pupil with a unique and enriched training experience within various departments in the Ministry of Justice, which includes the Department of Public Prosecutions, the Legal Aid Office, and the drafting and advisory sections of the Attorney General's chambers. In September 2025, Assistant Parliamentary Counsel Ms. Lorende Simons will complete her online studies with Athabasca University for a graduate diploma in legislative drafting, and we wish her continued success in completing her training. Members of the drafting section attended various training and development webinars and online training sessions on topics including developments in legislative drafting, fintech, personal information protection, health and safety, leadership, and well-being. The Attorney General's chambers, Civil Advisory and Legislative Drafting, conducting a continuing legal education seminar with members of the Bermuda Bar Council in November of 2024. Members of the drafting section conducted policy to law training in February 2025 at the Department of Employee and Organizational Development. Staff participated in the team building and wellness retreat in October 2024. Initiatives for the forthcoming year for advisory. Mr. Chair, a principal focus will continue to be on the development of Bermudian Crown Counsel and pupils. Emphasis will be given to using senior Crown Counsel and Crown Counsel to assist junior Crown Counsel and pupils on advisory and litigation matters. The advisory section intends to fill the vacant posts of Deputy Solicitor General, Junior Crown Counsel, and Administrative Assistant in the forthcoming fiscal year. Chambers is in the process of revising one job description for Crown Counsel into a dedicated specialist post with expertise in land law, conveyancing, and planning law. It is worth noting that this initiative will not increase the number of posts within Chambers. Additionally, Chambers seeks to improve its case management system to reduce our demand for paper resources through the increased utilization of the Pro Law software and other electronic filing systems. Legislative drafting, staffing, and training. The principal focus is to fill all vacancies in the section and chart a succession plan to develop Bermudian Parliamentary Council. An organizational restructuring of the section to bolster succession planning and support professional and leadership development is forthcoming. Legislative Information Management System, or LIMS. The legislation is produced quickly and accurately using LIMS, which is customized to our Bermuda drafting style. This, combined with the important role of the legislative editor, has kept the number of errors and inconsistencies found in legislation during House and Senate debates to a minimum, thereby expediting the legislative process. The maintenance of LIMS is through a Canadian vendor who provides timely professional assistance and technical support whenever necessary and regularly updates our software with the latest versions. It is intended to continue to improve our database and to post new laws within a week of enactment on the Bermuda Laws Online website, www.bermudalaws.bm, which is hosted locally by One Communications Limited. Consolidation, which is the incorporation of amendments into existing laws, is more time-consuming since the amendments are checked by the drafter as well as the legislative database manager. The goal is to continue to complete the process within 1 month of the enactment of the amending legislation, which was achieved in the last few years. To date, we have reached the intended outcome of 95% of enactments. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes that brief.
And for the listening audience, we have just concluded Head 4 under the Ministry of Justice, which is being delivered by the Junior Minister Lister. We are now in our number 2 of 5, and we are approaching 20 or just about 20 minutes prior to going to lunch. And Junior Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next, I will continue on with Head 74, Department of Court Services, found on page B98 to B101 of the Estimates of Revenue and Expenditure. Mr. Chair, it gives me great pleasure to present the budget for Head 74, the Department of Court Services. The mission statement: to reduce recidivism by delivering risk reduction programs and strategies to protect the community. The mandate of the Department of Court Services is to be responsible for the assessment, rehabilitation, treatment, supervision, and case management of offenders in the community who are subject to statutory orders. The department also delivers comprehensive assessments, makes referrals to treatment agencies for substance abusers via the Bermuda Assessment and Referral Center, BARC, and furthermore conducts drug and alcohol screenings. Additionally, the department supervises and monitors clients, many of them high-risk sexual offenders, violent offenders on probation and or supervision orders, or those serving life sentences who are on license. Expenditure review. This department has been and continues to be impacted by an increasing number of clients who are victims of unresolved childhood and adult traumas, which negatively affect their lives, culminating with their involvement in our criminal justice system. These issues seriously affect their ability to function in society, which ultimately leads to addiction, criminal thinking, and deviant behavior. These clients, who manifest multidimensional needs and varied degrees of risk to themselves and or the community, need a flexible, multi-pronged approach to meet their diverse needs. They require not only monitoring and supervision, but assistance with acquiring social and living skills. All of this requires complex, intensive, and sustained clinical and social interventions. These interventions are seriously compounded by the myriad number of issues which negatively affect our clients' lives, such as economic hardships, lack of affordable housing, and insufficient positive community support to assist in parenting and development. Some of the continuing pervasive issues negatively affecting our client population are unemployment, mental health issues, misuse and abuse of substances, parenting struggles, anger control issues, gang affiliations, cognitive and brain injury deficits, negative peer and familial influences, and educational deficiencies. Mr. Chair, a total of $4,888,000 has been estimated for this fiscal year. This is an increase of $491,000 over the previous year. This increase is solely due to incremental salary increases and the filling of previously vacant posts. No additional operating expenses have been requested for Head 74. This constitutes 8.5% of the budget allocated for the ministry as a whole. Budget savings over the fiscal year were realized by freezing posts as well as staggering the filling of vacant posts. Subjective analysis. The subjective analysis of current account estimates of the Department of Court Services are found on page B98. I would highlight the material object code increases and decreases. Head 74, Department of Court Services. The expenditure for the fiscal year 24-25 was $4,397,000, while the estimate for the fiscal year is $4,888,000. This is an increase of $491,000 over the previous year, or 11%. And as noted above, contains the salary uplifts for staff as well as filling of vacant and frozen posts. This salary increase is 14%. Business Unit, Case Management Unit, Business Unit 84010, Probation Services. In 2025-26, the estimated expenditure for this team is $439,000. This is $7,000 or 2% increase over last year. The increase being due to salary uplifts and post fillings. Business Unit 84020, Parole Services. This team had an original expenditure in 24-25 of $424,000. In 25-26, $463,000 has been requested, and this will be an increase of 9% or $39,000, again, to cover staff uplifts and vacant posts being filled. Business Unit 84080, Drug Treatment Court Program. This treatment court program had an original expenditure of $471,000 in 24-25. The request for 25-26 is $621,000, which will be a 32% increase or $150,000. The total expenditure for the Case Management Unit is $1,523,000, which is 15% or $196,000 over last year's amount. Court Center 742 Administration, Business Unit 84070, Court Services Administration. This business unit has the management team salaries, as well as the IT posts and the operational funds for the department. This business unit in the 24-25 fiscal year had an expenditure of $1,262,000. The 2025-26 fiscal year expenditure is estimated expenditure is $1,328,000. This is an increase of $66,000 or 5%. This increase is due to ensure salary monies are available as the management posts which were frozen in prior budgets are accounted for as hiring takes place. Court Center 743, Assessment and Treatment Unit, Business Unit 84030, Aftercare and Community Offenders. The expenditure for this team was $174,000 in the 2024-25 fiscal year. 2025-26 expenditure estimate is for $423,000. This is an increase of 143%. This fiscal year will be the first year that the department has 2 forensic psychologists, and with the recruitment process well underway, the specialist probation officer posts on this team should also be filled. Hence, the $249,000 increase over the last year. This should be offset by a decrease in spending to contracted private clinicians for interventions and assessments for our clients. Business Unit 84040, Community Offenders. This team's estimated expenditure of $509,000 is an increase of $46,000 or 10% over the 24-25 year. Business Unit 84060, Assessments. This unit comprises 3 teams: Report Writing Team, the BARC team, and the Mental Health Treatment Team, whose 24-25 expenditure was $1,171,000. The expenditure estimate of $1,105,000 for the 25-26 year is a decrease of $66,000 or 6%. This brings the 2025-26 expenditure for this unit to $2,037,000. This is an increase of 13% or $229,000 over the 24-25 expenditure total. Performance measures by business unit. Mr. Chair, I am pleased to report that the department's forecast performance measures for fiscal year 24-25 were achieved as listed below in each court center. Business Unit 741, Case Management. This business unit is responsible for the 3 teams which carry out the functions of probation, parole, and the drug treatment court. Probation team. The probation team monitors and supervises clients who are on probation orders which have been ordered by the courts. Conditions in probation orders are designed utilizing the results of assessment tools that determine the areas of our clients' lives which need interventions, as well as the risk to and in the community. These interventions from probation officers as well as clinical staff are designed to support the client in making positive changes to their behavior, friends, and lifestyle, as well as assisting in reducing the criminal thought patterns. These interventions are strengthened by officers making job and home visits to get a holistic synopsis of the client's functioning in the community. Performance measures. 2 of the performance measures which were forecast at 75% were actioned and completed at 100%. All clients who screened positive for drug or alcohol use were actioned within 1 week. This will mean that 1 or more interventions based on client behavior, history, and/or response to said interventions would be utilized to minimize a reoccurrence of the issue. Clients who were prolific or repeat offenders were case managed within 1 month of beginning their new order. This will be an internal case conference with the prior supervising officer, treatment court staff, and/or clinical/treatment staff to get as complete a behavioral or clinical package as needed to facilitate their supervision. The target for administering clients a final risk assessment was 75%. The final total was 79%. The number of persons completing probation was 85% of the total number of admissions at 73. This means that 50 out of the 59 discharged were assessed. The remaining 9 will be those who were breached and were sentenced to incarceration, 5, or had their sentence extended, 4. The parole team. Individuals released from the Department of Corrections on early conditional release to serve the remainder of the sentences in the community by the parole board are supervised for the remainder of the sentences under the supervision of an officer from the parole team. This means that in addition to finite sentences, persons serving a life sentence are supervised by the Department for Parole, supervised by the Department for Parole for the rest of their natural life. At present, there are 22 offenders under supervision for the remainder of their lives, referred to as lifers. During the year, 6 additional persons were given a license by the parole board. Additionally, there were 5 clients whose sentence and parole concluded. 2 persons were breached and returned to corrections due to failing to adhere to the conditions of license. This was 1 less than what the target number for the calendar year was forecast at 3. These statistics point out the effectiveness of criminal justice programs, and this number is amongst the lowest worldwide.
And Junior Minister, we have reached the 2-hour mark right now. We started at 10:24. Lunch is in about 6 minutes. Whenever you want to find a good place to sort of stop, and then we can resume after lunch.
I will do one more page and then we can stop. Performance measures for the drug treatment court team. The drug treatment court program remains the principal model for a magistrate-led team approach to offender treatment and supervision, being the progenitor of all other treatment courts. There were 8 new referrals in the drug treatment court program during the year, in addition to those observing for potential admittance into the program. The number of participants at the end of 2024 stood at 17. The makeup of the court in terms of substances used is 80% use cocaine and 20% use heroin. An adjusted stream for offenders convicted of driving under the influence offenses is now a full-fledged program. DUI program meetings facilitated by the Focus Treatment Care Center in this department for once-a-week sessions. There were 8 new referrals in the DUI stream. Numbers at the end of 2024 stood at 21. Of these, 98% are for alcohol use. In the drug use stream, 90% of participants are male, while in the DUI stream, 80% are male. Both streams require the officers to engage in intensive case management to ensure that the treatment needs, as well as social, medical, and mental needs, are also met. With that, Mr. Chair, I will pause before I continue any further reading.
Thank you for that, Junior Minister, and I will call on Minister Ferbert to move the motion to take us to lunch. You just move.
Thank you. I move that we adjourn for lunch.
Any objections? All right, so we're going for lunch until 2
Resume at 2 p.m.
to resume at 2 p.m.